Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing the film The Secret Agent, and we are joined by a very special guest. Amanda from the Revisionist Almanac podcast, as the Midwest regional correspondent, is joining us today. So, Amanda, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Amanda Nethington. I run a solo project, an Instagram page called Oscar Upsets, where I compare Best Picture winners with the agreed upon upset for that year. And whatever else I feel like doing, because that's what I do by myself. But more recently, I have joined the Revisionist Almanac to do sort of monthly, whatever we feel like sort of deal.
Love it, love it. Yeah, we're excited that Amanda is joining us today to talk about this film. And we jokingly before recording was like, man, we're really having you on the pod for the first time with quite the banger. So yeah. This will be quite the combo. So Sarah, do you want to kick us off with an IMDb summary for The Secret Agent?
In 1977, a technology expert flees from a mysterious past and returns to his hometown in search of peace. He soon realizes that the city is far from being the refuge he seeks.
All right. So in Movies and Us tradition, we do one-sentence summaries for the film. Amanda, as our guest, do you want to share your one-sentence summary for The Secret Agent?
Sure. Mine, I was going a little cheeky with like what is going on in the film. And so I said a city celebrating a major holiday is worried about the wrong monster.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, nice. Well played. I love it.
Thank you.
So what is your one-sentence summary for The Secret Agent?
Mine is, you never know which film will change a person's life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Here, as movie lovers, we love that one sentence summary. It's extra good. My one sentence summary is: military dictatorships are dangerously hairy and will kick you when you're down.
Yes, they sure will.
It's channeling the cheeky with you, Amanda.
Yes.
Well. Yes. Okay. Well, we are not going to spoil this movie quite yet. We're going to share our high-level thoughts about The Secret Agent. This is part of our run-up to the Oscars in this very exciting period and award season right now. This film specifically has gotten some really great attention and recognition from the Academy in some major categories. So excited to talk about this. There's, I think, a lot here. Amanda, I'm curious your thoughts on how The Secret Agent landed with you. How did this work for you?
I had a really good time with it. I went in knowing completely nothing, but knowing from last season, I really loved I'm Still Here. And so I was like, you know what? Brazil probably knows what they're doing. Let's do it again. And I love a good thriller. It wasn't like action-y. I'm not really big on action, but I loved like uncovering the mystery of it all. I liked the vibe. I've said this is a very big vibes movie. It's very brown. It's very yellow. Love the score. So overall, I had a really good time with it. I feel like people I talked to did not have as good of a time with it. So I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah, I think that is going to be fascinating to talk about, is like the way this film is received, given the way that our like movie going audiences are trained in how a film should be, because this breaks so many of those structures and expectations, I think. Yeah. Sarah, what are your thoughts about The Secret Agent? How did this film land with you?
Yeah, I also had a good time with it. I really appreciate kind of all of the themes that are packed into this film, and it left me with like a lot to think about after it was over. There are some creative choices that are rather interesting and didn't work for me the first time I watched it, but then upon rewatch, I'm able to like zoom out a little bit and understand a little bit better where some of these things kind of tie into some of these larger themes. So I think it definitely worked better for me upon second watch. I'm excited to dive into maybe some of the categories that it was nominated in too, because I think some of those were pretty surprising. But yeah, all in all, I'm glad that this is getting a lot of the reception. Amanda, I also agreed that this is a vibes movie, and if the vibes are not good for you, you are not going to enjoy this movie. But if the vibes are good, you're going to have a good time.
Mm-hmm. And I think this film probably struggles with its accessibility to people because of expectation. So I have a whole bone to pick with the trailer, which will come later, because I think it's good marketing, but I think it actually it does a disservice to the film itself. Um, I really loved this film. I thought there is so much meat in it, and the way that it's structured and unfolds before you slowly, I think really rewards a viewer that is willing to like be patient with it and sit and trust that the story and the trajectory that we're going on will be satisfying and will be meaty and will deliver. But I can imagine that it feels very wandering at the like first third of the film, which may be really uncomfortable for a lot of movie-going audiences that are used to kind of like more of a linear structure that follows a single protagonist with very clear objective. And this is not that film. This feels like an invitation to uncover all of the different dimensions and aspects of this society at this very unique moment in time in their history and everything that is related into that. So I particularly loved how we get almost this like kaleidoscope of faces and places throughout the film. And just get to know all of the different people that our main character is coming across that is leading him on the next phases of his journey to his objective. So yeah, I think there's a lot here, but it's one that I think takes work to engage with in a meaningful way to really mine for a lot of the substance of the film. I also just have to say, like, I was mourning while watching this film that I wasn't Brazilian and couldn't really understand fully, I think, the context. I feel this with like every international film where I'm like, I just know there's so much that I'm missing as an American viewer that is like watching this with an American lens. And it was interesting reading about some of the details that had a lot of significance that I wouldn't have picked up on the first time around. So that's just like international films in general, but I think especially with this one, this feels so ingrained in a time and place. All right, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen The Secret Agent. We clearly all, I think, landed net quite positive with The Secret Agent, so go check out the film, engage with it, sit with it, go in with a white canvas like Amanda did, and just let the film unfold before you, and come back and listen to the rest of our conversation. So, lots of interesting choices I think this film makes. I'm curious for both of you, what are some of those what's one of the big choices that this film chooses to make a creative choice on that was like really interesting to you that you found yourself thinking about a lot in the hours and days after the film ended?
I feel like the big one being the like current storyline is
Mm,
one that I think a lot of people have an issue with, and it's probably my
mm,
least favorite part of the film because I get it does help jump back and forth at times, and it helps kind of propel the storyline a little bit, but then you get to the end, and the end just feels like a little too wrapped up, like weirdly connected.
mm,
I didn't vibe with it at all. I
mm,
wonder what it would have been like without it at all.
mm,
Yeah, that was what I had the biggest issue with the first time that I watched it too. And I still don't love it. I think we still could have ended. I think we could have not had that part of it. But I think on this watch, I was really fascinated by the way the film almost structures these like parallel lines that people are kind of going through. And I think one thing that we see from Marcelo is that he is interested in looking into the past to understand his present. And so then we get that from the researcher, we get that a little bit from Fernando too, like old Fernando. And so I still don't love it, but I had a greater appreciation for it this time around because it's like an echo of what we had been seeing from Marcelo. So I was like, okay, I get it this time, whereas the first time I was like, what is this? Why are we doing
mm,
this?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I probably landed the most positive about that like framing device. I actually think it like stays a little longer than it needs to, especially in the ending. Like we have such a satisfying cathartic emotional moment with a lot of the realizations, but I think the whole visit to Fernando, like I think all of that we could just cut. I What I like about the use of this is how it's so easy for a lot of these figures in history to be forgotten. And it takes the curiosity of those in the present to want to uncover and seek a little bit deeper and to kind of follow those trails to really know what happened in our past instead of brushing things under the rug, which administrations, regimes are very good at to like rewrite history in. And it takes kind of these curious minds to just have this like urgency to say, like, I think Flavia says at one point, like, I don't know why, but I'm just drawn to this story. Like, I have to find out. And that was really exciting to see. It felt like a call to action or like a wake up call for us in the present watching this of like, what are all of those other people that have suffered, that have been martyrs, that are just totally forgotten and may never be known. And it's an interesting comparison, Amanda, that you made earlier to I'm Still Here, because I think I'm Still Here actually captures that same spirit of like, these people are to be remembered and their legacy is important and they've pushed history forward. But I'm Still Here just maybe a little bit more of an elegant job of landing that feeling without beating our heads over the head with that feeling. So that feeling of legacy from the father in that story and how much he was significant, I think was felt without the length that we get in The Secret Agent. So I almost feel like I'm like, I love the intention. Execution maybe could be a little evolved, but the intention is so good.
Yeah, I feel like you're having Dr. Mora like come back as him like as his son, and I'm like, this is a little bit too much, and he's like, this was the cinema. I'm like, this is a little too much, but like I get it. We need to remember these people, and he
Yeah.
was his father was very important to him, and no one knows about him, and it was very difficult to find all this information about him. So I get that, but like this is a little too much.
It was the part when they were like, and the hospital is the same place that I watched this movie
I'm
when
like,
my
this
grandfather
looks like a
worked. So I was
strip
like,
mall.
okay. Like maybe there's some symbolic thing happening there. I don't know. I was just like, felt a little bit much. Yeah. What do y'all make of the continuous Jaws reference throughout the film? It's so significant. There's so much screen time for it. It is continuously revisited again and again and again. Uh, I'm curious how you interpreted that because it feels like such an intentional creative choice from the film as well. And did it
Yeah, I
work for
feel
you
like it
too?
it worked for me a lot because I feel like it helped the kind of central storyline of like there's a lot of violence that's going on in this
Mm,
country and we are worried about this shark and this leg. And then like the son at the end whenever he's like I remember going to the movie. Like he remembers going to the movies. He doesn't remember all of this other violence that's going on in his town. So
yeah.
it did really work for me.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting choice, especially because the way that this is filmed kind of shifts and changes over time, and there are certain scenes that feel straight out of like a 70s thriller or 70s horror
Mm,
movie. And so I think, at least for me, like that constant reference to Jaws and some other like horror movies of the time, then we got to see that in the filmmaking components as well. So I thought that that was just like a fun, almost like meta thing that was happening.
yeah, yeah. There's also just an interesting meta layer of like in Jaws, so much of the film breaks the expectations of the violence we expect to see in a shark movie, from that era. And for the most part, like that movie is not as violent as we probably think it would be with the premise. And it's actually so much of like the buildup and the dread and the looming force that's like encircling the town. And similarly, I think The Secret Agent is like that as well. which is my problem with the trailer, which is that this trailer sells it as a crime thriller, and that we already have certain things and expectations that we have in our minds with a crime thriller. It shows all of the big like set pieces, it shows all of the big flashy action moments, and this film is so cerebral and slow. I think, Sarah, you described it to me before watching it, like it's a slow burn, so stay with it. And so much of the film is us inhabiting the mindset and the headspace of Armando, who is feeling that like encircling from the police and being hunted, but we don't see a lot of the violence. That film is actually like much, much, much less violent than I expected to be. And so I think that's an interesting comparison as well. Of how like the way that Jaws holds is restrained in its use of action sequences and violence, a kind of a mirror to this film itself as well, which is neat. I appreciate a film that doesn't give us what we think we want.
Yeah. I think a lot of the violence too is like we hear about it and we know that certain
Yeah.
people are dead. We don't see any of it. And so I think that that is an interesting point.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the way that this film uses the newspaper. You know, there's that headline of like 91 people dead, and I think the chief or whoever makes a comment of like, oh, it'll be over 100, like no big deal.
Whatever.
And so you feel the scale and the weight of that, you know, 91 people are dead, and it's like, meh, no big deal, just another day. And so I love those little more subtle nods that we know that violence is happening, but we don't have to see it to understand the weight of it.
Mm. The use of the newspapers throughout the film is great because, gosh, it's one of the primary ways that narrative is controlled within a society under dictatorship. So like I love the way that we see the events unfold, and then we see the way they're reported about, and you're like, God, like everyone knows that that is not really what happened, even to the point where we have the comic and the story about the hairy leg, which I didn't realize at the time until reading afterwards, but it was that whole storyline of using the description, the hairy leg, was created by a local journalist who felt like he wasn't able to like accurately report on the event, so he would use it to essentially be a symbolism of like police violence and brutality. And so it's like kind of a nod and an inside joke, a code with the public of what's really happening by using kind of this shrouded way of talking about it, which I think is so interesting. I wish there was a little bit more of that in the film to showcase how people are looking to figure out how to survive and to get the news correctly out there, but are having to be really creative and clever to figure out how to correctly report on the things that are happening without having to say, and to like still figure out how to protect themselves. So I loved that bit. The whole sequence in the film with the hairy leg like personified, I was so shocking. It's like, am I in the right movie? And like the film is like gone for like probably like an hour and a half at that point, and like
Oh
it's
yeah.
very grounded in reality. So when that moment's happening, I'm like, wow, gotta love a film that's like, hey, are you still paying attention? Because I'm gonna keep you on your toes. Because it's like, what is going on? Curious your thoughts about the hairy leg segment.
I feel like once it got to it, I'm like, you know what?
Sure.
Whatever. There were already a couple points that were just really funny, and I don't mind like humor in a serious movie, so I thought all the funny bits were well done. And so they got to the leg, and I'm like, okay, sure. He's kicking people, and everybody in the town either believes it or is just kind of going along with it. I don't know. It's a great distraction to the city, nonetheless, I guess.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I was like, well, I guess we're doing this now. Why not? Why not have a disembodied leg just kicking people? Okay.
A necessary moment of levity too, because this
Yeah.
film is like applies the pressure, it keeps you in that place of like on just like sheer anxiety and dread. And so honestly, when I saw the hairy leg like emerge up from the ground at night, it's like, my God, I think I needed this.
I also love how that was filmed and like playing with some of these like horror and thriller tropes and it's lurking behind the bushes and like ooh what's behind there and all of these things that it's doing. So I think in addition to being a funny and like weird moment, I think it also allowed for some like cool cinematography and filmmaking tricks that you might not see otherwise. So I think it was just another opportunity for even more creativity.
Mm-hmm. And you also just don't expect from a film like this that I really appreciate how late that moment happens too, because we are so we think that we know what this film is up until that point. I thought I did. I was like, this is a grounded political thriller that's unfolding before me. It's very serious. It's very blah, blah, blah. And there's moments of levity, but for the most part, it's very much like uh taking itself seriously. And then all of a sudden it gives us like this zag take where I'm like, oh, all right. And that barrels us into basically the third act of the film, too. It's like this moment shifting, this tonal shift. Yeah.
She appeared.
That cat just did an incredible leap so gracefully.
Yeah. She's got to show off her jump like to this window up here. She's sitting on my lap.
Yes.
So if you are listening to this only, please go watch this on YouTube to see this incredible cat doing the trick. YouTube.com/moviesanduspod. And then you can see the cat in all of its glory.
I feel like this is...
You will also see its little tail shadow.
Oh, yeah. She's going to
cinematically. Yeah.
I love
this is my point of going on to podcast, is so that I can bring everyone to the video side to show my cats.
Yeah.
This is Tortilla.
Oh,
amazing.
So cute.
She's ridiculous. She's also like 14
Tortilla
pounds.
needs an audience.
Yes.
And we are
please pay
for
attention
her.
to me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Tortilla, you distracted us. Now I don't remember where we're
at. Hairy leg.
Oh, yes. The leg. Yeah, it does come late too.
So late.
Because they've hired the hitman. You already know it's coming. He's like, Armando's ready to go. And they're like, oh, leg. Yeah.
Okay. Right? It's so late in the movie that it would be one thing if that was like 30 minutes, 40 minutes in, and you're like, okay, this movie's given us some different dimensions. No, the movie's actually like, you don't you dare think you know what I am. Like, I will tell you what I am. I'm gonna keep you on your toes in case you were checking out. Like, here we are, Okay, other big moments or choices that the film makes that we wanted to highlight.
Another part of the film that I like really loved was the whole like refugee business and everything with Donna Sebastiana, and I love her. I want to be her without the chain smoking. She is incredible. I want so much more of her. But it was so cool to see the way that these like ordinary people have come together to like care for one another. They have, like grocery distribution and all of that. You meet the people that are trying to get Marcelo and his son out. So you just see these like alternative ways of people just caring for each other in really dire circumstances. And I love, it's not a like big focus of the film, but I felt this like that like I could like relax every time we were back at his apartment and with the others that are in hiding. It just felt like a little like refuge and like safe space away from everything else. So I appreciate the times that we spent there, and I think that they were strategically placed throughout the film for those little moments of respite that we need amidst all of the stress that's going on elsewhere.
Yeah, I do like when they all like hang out in the living room, or there's like they're having their outdoor party when they first get in, and it is very nice. Also, yes, Donna Sebastiana. Lovely woman.
Clean.
She also has this cat that has two faces, which I feel like needs to be mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. Wild choice.
Yeah, I don't really get the purpose, but loved it.
I just like, that woman's got stories from her lifetime.
Yes.
Like she has.
How long has she been doing this?
Right. Yeah.
Like we just
I want to hear all of them. Like,
right?
yes.
get some snacks, post up on the couch, and just be like, and go. You were 22. What did you do, my girl? It was really neat to see in those scenes how she commands so much respect from this group. It is so unspoken, but she is like the center of gravity of this community and a pillar of strength in her own way. Like, and I really love that she may be so unassuming. If you saw her walking down the street, like you wouldn't expect, but she is actually like single-handedly keeping so many of these people safe, guiding them, finding new opportunities for them, and setting the culture of this place. So Homegirl's a G, really. Her voice is also hilarious. Like, just the
Yeah.
rest is deep and guttural.
This is another time when like you wish that you were Brazilian so that you can be like, I need another tone. Like how is she saying this?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Like reading it, it's not doing it justice for me.
I thought it was also really interesting that scene where they there's a few of them in that community that are welcoming Marcelo in. And one of them uses the word refugee and he's kind of like scolded for it, like, don't use that word. And I think just like it's indicative of, once again, the looming society and oppressive power that exists. But the film actually is not necessarily trying to uncover the full extent of it, but you always feel the effects of it. Though you feel their fear, you feel their awareness of that looming presence. And that was a great example of a scene that is very subtle, but immediately I like tensed up in that scene. It's so warm and welcoming at first. They're like outside, the sun is shining, they're welcoming in, it's warm and friendly, but it's like, no, you got to watch your backs too. It's just the immediate, like, constant anxiety that they feel. It was a great little moment. And this movie, I think, is like littered with moments like that. They're so subtle, but the visceral experience is felt.
My goodness.
Yeah,
So
and I
my
think another moment like that is when they're all in the living room and Marcelo says his actual name. And it's
Oh
almost
yeah.
like you feel like the air gets sucked out of the
Mhm.
room because he
yeah.
did the thing that you're not supposed to do. This is so dangerous. And so I also love the where that comes in the film, but you because we've spent so much time with him as he's trying to navigate this impossible situation and stay safe and all of these things, we feel the effects when he finally says his name, and we feel the weight and we understand the weight of that choice.
I also love that you see one of the other women just say, I'm not wanting to share my real name. I think it's Teresa Victoria, who,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I want to know that entire couple's whole story too. Okay. I'm like, I
Yes.
feel the weight and burdens that they carried. I feel just like their hearts are so tender and warm, but so strong. And they're off to, I
Mm-hmm.
think, Belgium next, but they've got there could be a whole movie about them, I think. But she also chooses not to share her name
Mm-hmm.
out of fear. And it's neat too, because it's like a kind of like whimsical little moment where they're sharing why they chose their names, their fake names, and there's meaning and there's story and there's family members, so they're getting to share with each other without having to share it all yet. But yeah, one of the women isn't even comfortable quite yet too. um,
Yeah.
One of the other scenes that I think is so one of the highlights of the film is uh, the paper napkin, Fatima and Armando dinner with Garodi at the restaurant. That scene, I think, is when there's so much emotion that's built up and tension that's built up for so much of the film, and then that scene happens and it's one of the first times I think you see like true direct aggression in a way that's like so outright. There's so much that's like shrouded and subtle and secretive throughout the film, but that's one of the first moments where a scene really explodes. And the whole paper napkin that's drawn and then him saying know your place, I think was so interesting because it really reveals his true mentality around like, you do not deserve to be here. And just kind of the racism, the microaggression of that, I think is so interesting. So the way that that's worded, I think is so notable. He doesn't fling like big splashy insults, but it's the subtlety of like know your place. I don't know. It was like more terrifying in the way that that was said versus just shouting insults out. I don't know. There's something more menacing about like, no, I know that I'm in a position of power, and I know that you are not. So I think that that scene is electric, and it's one of the few scenes where I think the film allows itself to break open for a little bit until we cut back to the present, and we know how deep this goes for Armando's character.
Yeah. And we hear at like at the beginning whenever he's talking to his son, like, your mom is dead. She was sick and she died. And so then you're waiting the entire movie like, okay, well, when are we gonna get that resolved? And then the scene comes and we still don't really have it resolved, but we know. So it had a lot of weight to it. And it does also come rather late, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting the way that you see those little like microaggressions all throughout the film too. I don't know that I necessarily like picked up on that the first time that I watched it, but the second time around, seeing the way that there is this like racism even within Brazilian culture, and you see it come out in all these little ways. It's not like the big thing that the film is trying to like really hit on, but you very much feel it as you're going throughout the film. And so I appreciate again the subtlety of that, but it's very clear and it leaves you with something again to think about, and it's just part of this larger picture that the film is painting about what the culture was like at this time.
Yeah, there are a lot of references. I don't remember exactly if it's like a state or a region that he's in. You always hear the references of like, oh, well, we're from this area in the South. Oh, we know about, this town, this city, whatever it is. So yes.
Um, it was fascinating to learn too, and there's probably so much more context to this, but the writers and creative team that really like birthed this film are from the Northeast region, which is where Recife is and where Marcelo is and where the film is set. And so just kind of it hitting close to home and being kind of born from this personal place. It was fascinating also reading online for people that were Brazilian, the way that the aesthetics, which I think Amanda, you mentioned earlier, of like the streets and the cars and the clothing apparently were really accurately done for people that know what like Brazil in this region in the 70s was like. And once again, something that as like an American viewer, I'm like, gosh, I wish I could feel the satisfaction of that. I know when what's that film that came out a couple of years ago that was set in Sacramento in like the 80s or something? It was a PTA film with the two kids running around. Anyway,
Oh, licorice
Oh,
pizza.
yes,
yeah,
yes, that was
that's a
another thing
vibe.
for people. Yes, a vibe movie, like you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, Amanda. But people that are familiar with the aesthetics and like that place were like, "Gosh, they nailed it!" And it was neat to read about how the secret agent really captures the aesthetics and the atmosphere of Brazil in this region in the 70s quite accurately in how the streets looked and felt and sounded and how people dressed and the style and all of that too. So another wonderful detail that I wish I could fully appreciate, but I will appreciate cerebrally, but maybe not experientially fully. That was neat to know.
I also appreciate how this film and this time at the very beginning is framed as a period of great mischief, and I think that that's such an interesting way to look at and even to like tee up what we're about to go through, because I would not characterize what we see in this film as mischief. So it's interesting that that is kind of the language that is used throughout the film, that there's almost this like sanitization of what we are seeing and the violence that is happening in this community. Oh, it's just mischief. So I thought that that was another interesting kind of framing device to help us get us in the mind of what these people are experiencing.
One of the things that I adored about this film that when I watched the trailer, which gave me the wrong expectations, that's fine because I was sold. I was so excited to see this. Is the cinematography. I remember watching the trailer for this and just being like, wow, the way these shots are framed and constructed are so visually interesting and striking. And from the opening scene of this film, I just like settled down into my seat because I was like, there's clearly so much visual intention. Seeing that yellow car on this like dusty sepia toned landscape, and then pull into the gas station, and we pan over, and it looks so idyllic and so wonderful. And then we pan over, and there's just like flies and a body and cardboard, and I think I like gleefully was like, oh, we're in for a good ride. This is going to be really good because I now trust these creators to do some really high quality work. So I just have to give out a shout out to the cinematography. It adds so much to the emotions, I think, of every scene. One of the other cinematography glorious moments that I wanted to shout out to, other than the opening scene, is when Marcelo goes to see his son for the first time, and his son is on the bed, and Marcelo comes in to the room from behind, and Fernando's face is kind of in close up, but it's in the very, very like far right hand corner on the bottom. And then Marcelo's figure is like smaller, but in the very, very far left hand corner at the top. And I've never seen just like a shot framed in that way, but it's kind of showing the like emotional distance between the two of them because he hasn't been home for so long, and Fernando's probably felt isolated. And then as they are speaking, they close the distance between the two of them. But it's such a unconventional and like surprising way to frame that shot, to put the two subjects in the literal like far ends of both corners. And they're really tight next to the corner of the frame too. They're not like at the 2/3, 1/3 marks. No, it's like shoved into both corners. So I thought that was so visually interesting and so exciting moment to moment in the cinematography. Also, hi, Tortilla.
This is my baby, actually.
Oh,
this is Tony. This is a different one.
Tony. Wow.
She's
Is
like
this the
7
one
months
that
old, we think.
was going to town? Okay, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, she eats
Excellent.
stuff. She's never
Oh.
like done this before, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. I won't let
She
her
just-
derail. Too bad.
Yeah, she just
No,
needed to be the center of attention.
Yeah. Just like I am the star. Please frame me in the frame because cinematography for me is
Yeah.
what I desire
Yeah.
too.
Framing between
Center
the cat.
frame.
Yeah. They do a similar. I don't remember if that first, the one with him and his son, are like the ones where they do like the two in focus, but they do one at the end whenever the hitman shows up at his work, and they do like his face in the foreground and then the hitman's in the back, and they're both in focus. I thought that one was nice. They also do a lot of good like she's gonna really bug me.
She's so funny.
Come here.
She's like, hey.
Goodness.
Hey
Hello,
there.
pay attention to me. Oh my goodness.
Oh, what do you think about the cinematography, Tony?
Did you
Tell
watch
us your
The Secret
thoughts.
Agent with me? She says yes. I loved the Browns. Yeah. They do a lot of good like pans. I loved those. And then as we said before, like with the leg. The styles with the leg. So, all around.
I also, to your earlier point, Amanda, I love the coloring and the way that this plays with colors. There are a lot of browns and yellows, but I also love the way that Marcelo's dress usually is like a complementary color to like what's going on. So like when we first meet him, bright yellow bug, he's wearing a blue shirt, so like he's usually wearing these like bright colors that really like stand out or pop, when I feel like a lot of the other characters are wearing more neutral tones, except for Donna Sebastiana, who is always in like a crisp, beautiful red, standing out in some way. But it was just, I don't know, there's this interesting way that he dresses that really contrasts to what we're seeing from everybody else, and even like the interior that we see in a lot of the buildings too.
Which, like, if you're being hunted, practically maybe not the best choice, but visually very fun for us creatively to get to watch. Yeah, as
Yeah,
Put the
if
he's
you're
stalked by the police.
yeah, if you're being hunted, drive a bright yellow Beetle. That is that's the
dress in
solution.
all blue.
Yes.
So if you're a hitman, maybe blend in better. He's also in like bright red, I think.
Right.
I feel like we need to talk about is he a bad hitman? Because like, are we under the impression that he completes the hit, or is he just like all around? He just like screwed the whole thing up.
I read it as homeboy screwed the whole thing up.
Okay, because like I was like prepping earlier this afternoon, and I was like,
Yeah.
wait, but did he? Do you think he went back and he did it? Do you think he found him? And I'm like, no, I think they just hired the worst hitman.
Right.
Yeah, the two hitmen that hire the hitman, they were. I need more info about them. Why? I don't know. Why did you subcontract a hit?
Right. That was my question too. But what I loved about that scene with the subcontractor is it follows this same exact pattern with the hiring of the hitman originally, where the hitman gives his price and the person hiring them is like, nah, man, I'm not gonna do that. But the hitman holds his ground. And I'm like,
Yeah, both times.
yeah, it was a fun little parallel with a much smaller sum of money. But yeah, I definitely read that as our subcontractor screwed it up, and the actual hitman is, I would guess, actually like carried out the hit. But that's just what I've made up in my own headcanon.
That's probably a more reasonable answer. Because yeah, I do think the stepfather in the situation probably could do it just fine.
Right?
You need
I think
all these
the two
other
of them
people.
together clearly look like they have done plenty of hits in their lifetime. I'm sure they could successfully accomplish that mission. They're a little tired. I love the shot. It's a moment that like is in the midst of the action, but it was kind of funny to me when Bobby shows up and he sees that like there's now two dead people that are not the target and everybody has ran, and he just he comes up into the frame in the center, rolls his eyes, and it's just like, oh man, it's like when you have a coworker doing a task that you need and like it's all wrong, you're just like, oh man, now I gotta go fix this.
Yeah, he's like walking around, he's like, where's the dude with the hat?
Come on.
He's like leaving a trail of blood. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
A detail I noticed at the very beginning, I don't know if it's too important, is that the hitman have like 5 cars, and then they pan the inside of their house. They don't have a bed. They're sleeping on the floor. So I'm like, are you good, hitman? Like, once again, are you irresponsible with your money? Like, I think I thought way too much about the hitman. Clearly.
I had the same thought though, because we spend so much time with Bobby as he is washing the car and then putting the car into the garage, getting the other car out of the garage. Like, it's a whole process that we go through. And so I was fixated on the cars. And then we go inside and I was like, wait a second, this does not add up. Did you spend all of your hitman money on cars? Like, what?
I think so. Yes.
I think so. I wonder if it's like a sign of like status, power, wealth. Like it's because it's all external perception focused. It's like, I need to drive this car or roll through the neighborhood in this car, but it don't matter because you're not coming over to my house. But you will see me out looking like I know what I'm doing with my life and very competent. So please hire me. It's the marketing budget. that cat zoomed in. I swear that flew.
I said that they would make a liar out of me, and instead they doubled down and they got twice as obnoxious this time. Yes. Remember how I fed you early so this wouldn't happen? She says, no, we're just gonna play. Let go of my shirt.
He like spider monkeyed into frame. That was epic. I can't wait to rewatch that when I'm editing this. Oh, so good.
I'm gonna have to start locking you guys somewhere. I say that they have like a fear. They have FOMO, but they also have like a phobia of locked doors. So they're like, if I shut a door in the house, they're like banging on the doors. I'm like, dude. So that's why the third one is here now. But I'm like, I can't. This is not a sustainable
I love
podcasting
it.
location for me. My
I
God.
love it. It's keeping us so entertained. I'm so amused.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so we talked about the coloring, cinematography,
Mm-hmm.
other big things.
Um, I did notice like the sound. There are particular moments where the sound is very loud. It like the squelching coming out of like pulling the leg out of the shark is like abnormally loud, and then whenever at the beginning the hitmen are like dumping that first body, they put like a cinder block down, and the cinder block is very loud.
So yeah, the sound design is quite incredible. I also kept noticing the score throughout. The score is so interesting. There's like rock organ at some points. There's like psychedelic electronic music at some points. And I was like, once again, this film is like, I will keep you on your toes. It's a choice that I just wouldn't expect from the scene or the moment, but it kind of always works really well and it creates so much like an ease in me. Uh feeling like I never know what's gonna happen next. I never know what the moment is, but like that the way that the score comes in and out, I think is really fascinating. I don't often, unless the score is quite like truly incredible, will notice the score that as much because I'm just sucked into the story. But this one, I remember multiple times throughout this film thinking like, "Ooh, that's so interesting." An organ with like some heavy metal bass underneath, like, yeah, okay. And then I'm watching the scene, I'm like, yeah, that really works. So shout out to the score as well. Some really interesting choices.
Yeah, the one at the end, like when the hit is actually being conducted, is like super goofy. It's like some woodwinds or something, and they're going back and forth. And there's also a lot of sound in those scenes because you've got like that random guy that's like preaching in the square. So you have like
Yeah.
this really weird song, and then you have like this man yelling, and then there's like the car driving by with all the speakers on it. And I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. There's a lot, there's too much happening.
And then like people are running, for their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Scores are normally some of my favorite things to like point out. So that this one was particularly just funky. So I
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah. And very disparate too, but it all works. I think like there isn't one coherent like we are doing rock organ throughout the whole thing. It's like from moment to moment, scene to scene, like I really have no idea what it's going to do next. And that was really exciting. That was really fun. You're like, oh, what does it have up its sleeve now?
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to like just the soundtrack by itself because that sounds like a wild ride. Because you have so many different types of music, but like you said, Jen, they all work.
Yeah.
And what I loved is when we hear these really like tense notes, these tense sounds when somebody is doing something kind of mundane. So, very early in the film, when Marcelo is getting settled in his new apartment, he opens this box and is like looking through it. And there's this really, really tense, just like ominous music happening in the background while he's looking through a box. And so I loved those little moments where the score is telling you something and you're feeling something, but there's a mismatch to what's on the screen. And Amanda, that flute music as they're after the hit is a perfect example of that I absolutely loved. It's so bonkers, but it really works well.
Okay. Any other last big shout outs or things we wanted to really celebrate that the secret agent does in this film uh, before we wrap? Any other big things? I've got two, two things quickly. I'm curious if anybody else has any. Uh, one of the things I want to give a shout out to is the ending credits sequence. It's not something that I typically am like noting particularly, but for this film specifically, I thought the creative choice to have these like little vignettes and frames of the different people that Marcelo has encountered or was part of his story along the way, with the actors' names next to them, was just really meaningful, especially for the story about a man who is living under military dictatorship. And there's all of these faces along the way like the lady who worked at the shop or one of the people in that community group. Like there were so many that I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, they were so significant. I remember her face. And they would include a lot of side characters that only had probably like a few minutes of screen time, but gave them kind of a dedicated couple of seconds of a vignette of them like in their shop welcoming in and him in or something like that, that I thought was really meaningful because it almost felt like everything that Marcelo went through was a product of all of the people he encountered along the way that helped him, that was there for him, that were chasing after him, but they were all significant. So I think that was really meaningful to see. They could have just, text on screen, rolling it across. But I think that creative choice was really neat and really like meaningful. And then the other quick thing that I just want to shout out to the film, which we mentioned it at a high level, but especially in the opening of the film, this film just really trusts the audience, which I really appreciate. There's nothing that's handed to you like on a silver platter. It doesn't over explain at all. In fact, a lot of times it's giving you like minutia of detail that like 3 scenes later you find out what the meaning of that was or who that person was. And I really loved that because I think a lot of story arcs can sometimes feel like they've been distilled down and boiled down to like its simplest form because it thinks that we can't keep up. And this film is like, yeah, you are probably asking a million questions right now, but like I'm gonna answer that in 5 scenes. So, but remember the detail; it's important. Don't worry, you'll be rewarded for it. So, I just love that so much. I think the first few minutes of the film, I was like, okay, I feel trusted. This feels really nice. So I wanted to give a shout out to a film that trusts that the audience is smart.
Yeah.
What about
I
you
think we
both?
touched a
Any other
little bit.
shout outs?
Yeah, we touched on it briefly, just like it's slow, but everything is given so it's like little tidbits. Every scene, every sentence, you might get like something. And so, yeah, that was especially like going into this knowing nothing, and then it opens to this dead body. I'm like, oh, okay, the dead body's gonna serve a purpose. No, it's just showing you that there are dead bodies. There are things going on. I really thought it was gonna be more important. Yeah, as a ball.
Yeah, the other shout out that I would like to give is to the character of Alexander. He is just such a wonderful character in an impossible situation. His daughter is dead. He's raising his grandson. His son-in-law is on the run. What a difficult place to be in. But I loved that moment when Marcelo is like recounting that encounter that they had, um, and she describes her dad as a humble man, and that impacted Alexander so much. And like we had seen that in his character all throughout, and it was I feel like every scene with him is just so precious, and I wanted to just like wrap him in bubble wrap because I didn't want anything bad to happen to him because he was just so precious. And so I loved how much time we got to spend with him and how like pivotal he is in this film. He's always there in this like nurturing, loving presence. And I feel like he was utilized so well, especially in contrast to what we see from the rest of the culture, what we see from like the police chief and all of that. So he is such a precious character and serves such a great purpose in the film.
It was so sweet, that scene where I think Marcelo recounts, what his daughter said about him. He's like, she said that? She said that about me? And he's like, yes, she really felt that. And you feel how much that like his whole heart just became a giant puddle. Yeah. Him and Donna Sebastiana really giving us hope for humanity, really. In the midst of this chaos of the regime and all that, it's just like, oh, there are these souls that are bubble wrapped, yes, must be protected at all costs, will not be made jaded and cynical from the world. So good. What a sweet character. All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of The Secret Agent. There's a lot to love in this film. It is one that, as we've mentioned, just go into it and let it unfold before you. Slowly and beautifully, you will really be rewarded. This film has a lot to say, I think. It was fascinating watching this film with our American lens and seeing how there are more similarities perhaps than we might seem on the surface between oppressive regimes and whatnot and the state of society. But there are these characters that really look out for each other, that care for each other, and that is more than meaningful along the way. So Secret Agent is, I guess we should talk quickly about like the Academy and like the recognition that they're getting. I think this is the type of film that in the past couple of years probably might just be in the international category, but it's really gotten a lot more recognition from the Academy. So really exciting to see. Any quick thoughts, words about that?
What else is it up for besides actor, international film picture?
And
I did not do this research.
Best casting.
Oh, yes. Once again, Sebastiana. Incredible.
Yes.
She's incredible.
But yes, I think those are all good. I was a little, I only had like 6, there's like 6 main male leads, but I would definitely put Nakamura in there. I wouldn't put him as my top, but I think he definitely deserves that spot. So I'm excited for him.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think I'm very pleased that it's getting recognition. I totally agree. Wagner Moura, incredible in this, deserves all the flowers. I personally, I think I would put It Was Just an Accident as Best Picture and Best Casting instead of this. I'm not mad that this got it, but I think for me, I think I would rather see that film in those spots instead.
Okay.
I have not gotten to that one yet, but I've heard this familiar sentiment. I mean, we could split the difference and take F1 out.
Oh my God, please. Yes.
I mean, there we go.
I just watched that this morning. That was a struggle.
Yeah. F1 and the Secret Agent cannot be on like farther sides.
I had a big day, yeah. Starting with the Secret Agent, went to F1, now we're here.
Yeah.
No.
A Secret Agent F1 sandwich. Yes. Amazing.
Great. So I'll have to watch It Was Just an Accident and get back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. That's next on the docket. But I'm just pleased to see that it is getting recognition in some of the bigger categories. I think it's reflective of the Academy perhaps diversifying and widening in its voting body and watching more things. So just like encouraging to see a film like this be recognized on the stage and probably bring more eyeballs to it. So very exciting. All right. Well, thank you, Amanda, for joining our convo and sharing all your thoughts and takes and opinions and perspectives about The Secret Agent. Where can people find more of you, your Oscar analysis, and also some of your work in the pod world too?
Yeah, so I'm mostly just on Instagram at Oscar Upsets. I am on, I believe, 2015, 2016 right now, working my way towards the present. You can see our monthly stuff on the Revisionist Almanac. We're doing one for Valentine's Day about hot couples, but hot couples, like with good chemistry in movies. So that'll be fun. We haven't recorded yet, but I bet it'll be just fine. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Very exciting. That's a juicy episode. I love that.
It's going to be ridiculous, I think.
And I have a feeling like you, Heather, and Andrew will each bring very different perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
To this story.
This is not like a spoiler, but we had like one that we overlapped on. But other than that, we're like, we have now like 15 because we're each doing like 5. We have all separate. So it's a little goofy, I think.
I bet. I'm so ready for that.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be so fun.
Yeah, so exciting. Well, we include all of that in the show notes, where you can find Amanda on Instagram with Oscar Upsets and some of her other work with Revisionist Almanac. Very exciting. Go follow more of Amanda. In the meantime, we will be back here on the feed with more films that are nominated for Oscars in some of the categories as we continue to do our homework and prepare for this very exciting period of time in the movie world. So, yeah, we can't wait to see y'all soon on the feed and chat again very soon. For listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at moviesandUsPod, or email us at moviesandUsPod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.